What if I told you that your birth chart is not what you think it is? That it's not something to follow but something to overcome? Hi everyone, today I'm gonna reveal to you what other astrologers won't tell you about your birth chart, what's the reality behind, and everything you need to know to deal better with your birth chart. So like I said in my previous video about free will, we don't decide a lot of things. So we're born with a different health, a different physical appearance, and a different body. We experience different events through our life, which are not the same depending on the people. We also have certain personality, which make us react differently to the things we encounter, etc. All of this is arranged before our birth, and depends on the planetary arrangement there is when we're born. So we are under the planetary influences, which arrange our body, our health, our personality, and the events we encounter in our life. So basically, our soul is programmed by the planets, so we can say that the birth chart is a soul program. But we need to understand the difference between the soul and the spirit, because yes, it's not the same. Our soul is memory, so it's all our experiences, and its function is to make us live experience. Those experiences we have create soul memory, and it's because of this soul memory that everything repeats in a cycle, like the zodiac cycle. So it's why we tend to repeat the same patterns all over in our life, and also we have the same limitation, and we tend to reproduce the stuff of our past lives. And our ego is dominated by our soul. But our spirit is just pure intelligence, but it's not the intelligence you think about, like the intellect is another kind of intelligence. So we can say our soul is subjective and our spirit is objective. You can find all of these and more information in the Gnostic text. I will put some in the description below. So that's basically it for the soul and the spirit. I will do another video about it to explain more in depth. So basically, if I summarize, we need to detach ourselves from our soul memory because it makes us repeat the same things all over again. And we need to attach ourselves to our spirit, from which we are detached for now. Let's talk more in depth about the soul memory. Our soul memory contains all our experiences, and it's what shapes our taste, our fears, our limitation, our blockage, our relational patterns, etc. We can kind of say is our unconscious. So all of those things like our fears, our trauma, our taste are subjective. So they're not real because anything subjective is not real. And those things can make us suffer, so we need to detach ourselves from that. The problem is that humans live under past experiences and under soul memory, so they repeat the same thing. Humans live dominated by their subconscious, or their soul program if you prefer, but these make them have a distorted view of reality. They react and see things in a subjective way because of their soul memory. Basically, they react based on their past experiences. But the problem is that anything subjective is not real. So we are trapped in our distorted perceptions of reality, and most of the time we are not able to see things how they really are. But if we can succeed to see things in an objective way, we can see reality and go out of the illusion of the polarity, so we can stop suffering basically. So what's the illusion of the polarity? If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, activate the notification, comment and share. In our world, there is polarity absolutely everywhere. In politics, in sports, in game, in movies, everywhere. Every time you see there's two camps fighting for something, there is polarity. Every time some people think they should support something and fight against something, there is polarity. Most people are trapped in the illusion that there is the good and the bad. But this is an illusion, because actually it's the two sides of a same coin, because it's simply a value judgment. And not to mention that when we try to make one side of the polarity stronger, the other side will also get stronger, because this word works on polarity. It needs to have this balance. But the polarity in the word is just a reflection of our own psyche, which is polarized. So inside us, we also have those polarized and subjective judgment, so this is simply visible on the outside and on our world. So what about the polarity in the birth chart? In the birth chart, we can see this with the disposition of the planets. Basically, the planets are like kind of magnetic poles, and everyone's birth chart is polarized because we don't have all the placement, so we have some points of the birth chart which are more polarized. It means that to have a birth chart which is not polarized, we need to have all the placement at every degree of every planet, or just none of them, because it's the same. The polarity won't exist if there is no magnetic poles. But because, like I said before, our birth chart represents our ego, which is a very small part of us, It simply means that our ego is polarized, so our ego is subjective and trapped in this illusion of the polarity. I'm not saying that our ego is a bad or a good thing, it's actually none of it. Our ego is simply necessary for us to develop, but we are way more than this and we should develop further. Because we're not only our ego, we are also a soul, a spirit, and also our unconscious. So basically our real self contains all the placement of the zodiac of every degree, or just none of it. So our birth chart simply represents the illusion in which our ego is trapped. So then I think you know why we need to go beyond our birth chart. Humans are just meant to evolve further than their ego and to go out of this illusion of the polarity and of their subjective reactions, subjective emotions, and to see the reality and be in the reality. We are meant to stop living based on our past experience. So for this, we need to do our work on ourselves and dig in our unconscious and in our soul program. So it's why the birth chart is useful. We also need to really understand how our ego works and the illusion in which we are in our ego. So for this, we can study our birth chart and it gives us a lot of information about this illusion. For example, if we look at Saturn, we can know more about our fears, our limitation, our blockage. If you look at Mars, we can look at what can make us angry, our type of motivation. With Venus, you can see how we relate to others, our taste. Like with Pluto, we can see our trauma, and etc, etc. So it's really interesting to study astrology, study our birth chart to know ourselves. But like I said before, our birth chart only represents our ego, which is a very small part of ourselves, and which is the part which is trapped into illusion. So our birth chart is a soul program, and if we don't detach ourselves from it, we'll simply repeat the same patterns all over again, the same fears, the same limitation, and live based on something we haven't decided, live based on our past experience, and it can make us suffer. So what we need to do is to use our birth chart to make our unconscious become conscious, and when the unconscious become conscious, we can start to make intelligent and conscious decisions to avoid following the same pattern. And we can start going out of our own illusion, our own subjective perceptions and emotion. I don't say we need to stop having emotions, but we need to start to not let emotions dominate us, but controlling our emotion and be able to use them in a creative way. So the goal in the end is to detach ourselves from this soul program, from our birth chart, to get our real freedom, which is in the objective reality and not in our own illusion. Here is the end of the video. I hope you like it. And don't forget that you can like, subscribe, activate the notification, comment and share. It will help me a lot to continue making videos. It will motivate me a lot and give me support. And I also love reading your comments every time. If you have any thoughts, you can share to me. If you don't agree, I would be also happy to exchange with you to understand your views. And that's it. I hope this video teach you many things and that you find it interesting, and maybe that you will be able to use your birth chart in another way to help you feel better in your life. And that's it. See you soon for another video.